Amazing.
Let's see. And we're here. We're live. Welcome, welcome, everyone. This is our takeaways from our weekly Time and Tuesdays class. Welcome, Trisha. I would love to hear your takeaways from today's class. It's been really exciting today.
Yeah, I think my biggest takeaway has been, when you encounter a situation that might be challenging for you, instead of reverting back to victim mentality and victim mentality actions, which has sometimes been a default for me in the past, instead, take a deep breath, take a pause, and then think. There's other ways I can handle this. There's two options. I could be a habit crusher where I kind of rewire the way that I'm going to handle the situation into a more loving way, go more internal or handle it, in a way that I might not be, for me, passive aggressive or other things. So you're can be a habit crusher, or you can be a flow specialist, where what is the most loving actions that I can take right now to get the result that I want.
That's so good, Trisha. Yeah, so today's topic in Time and Tuesdays was transitioning, right? We can all kind of relate to transitioning, right, Louise?
Right, in our growth, in our life, in our relationships, in ourselves. So there are so many places and areas in our life where we can transition. So, and it all boils down to, how do you handle your transition? I can remember in the beginning, I had to become aware of transitioning. So it's just like when everything were chaos and everything was just like falling apart, then I knew that I was in transition. But now I can discover the small steps. I'm aware of the small step, as Trisha said in Time and Tuesdays. And to acknowledge the small steps are very important, and it makes the journey much more pleasant.
It's the small transitions too, right? Sometimes we think about the big transitions. I mean, how many out there, know about the big transitions, right? But how about the small transitions? I mean, Trisha today just had the biggest aha moments for us. She's down to celebrating, right, Trisha?
I am.
Why are the small transitionings important?
Well, I think the small transitions can be just as impactful as the big transitions, right? They can have a huge impact in your life, and they can just help make the moment to moments in your everyday much more pleasant and loving, which who doesn't want that? It just leads to better mental health, more love.
Yeah, so it creates that momentum, right? You're talking about, now we're in flow specialist, right? We are allowing things to just kind of flow and create momentum. So the little steps really add up.
They do. And I think it's a tool, like it's acting with intention, right? We can all say that we don't want to be in a victim mentality, but it's one thing to say it, and then when something difficult happens, it's another thing to know how to do it.
Yeah. So if anybody is watching live right now, just type in the chat, what are some of the things that you transition into right now? What kind of transitions are you going through in life right now? Are you going from a old job to a new job, maybe getting out of a relationship or getting into a relationship? Those are some of the big transitions, right? But how about today? Are you transitioning into maybe taking more breaks for yourself today? Are you transitioning into doing more time ins. You know, we do time in Tuesdays. This is all about taking that time in for yourself. Yeah. The time in. Yeah, go ahead, Louise.
Can you remember, Trina, when you were not allowed to take a time in?
Yeah.
How did you cope with your everyday life when you didn't have time in?
Oh my goodness. You know, I knew what a break was, but it was more like a
You did?
yeah, but break was more like kind of recess in school where it's like, okay, I can just, you know, kind of get my, you know, laundry done now, or, you know, I can get to watch some TV, or I don't know. It was not like an investment in myself. A break was just more of a, okay, I don't do work right now, so I guess I'll go do some laundry, which is like work to, you know, like the things that are not work, but it's like housework, you know, and do mommy stuff or whatever.
Yeah.
But I like the time into myself, that was like a new concept that didn't come to me until the last, you know, few years, really, of understanding the investment that it really has with your nervous system and with the, you know, stillness, hearing my you inside me, you know, like the you inside you, like really hearing what is inside of me. It was mind blowing to me. And Trisha, I'm sure that you've been transitioning into more self-love and self-care, and you know, throughout your, you know, time in Tuesdays journey.
I have a lot. And, you know, I've, for years, really, like 15, 20 years, I've been starting the process, right? And so I think though I hit a wall where I could take time for myself and meditate or read a self-help book or whatever. But I really had a difficult time sometimes translating those like and those that 20 minutes I meditated or the time I read my book, that was amazing. But I had a difficult time transferring those concepts to my everyday life. You know, I would be calm during my meditation, but then I would get out of meditation and I would have anxiety again, or I would reach a challenge with someone and I would be reactive, or, you know, so I think Time in Tuesday has really helped me a lot with how can I transfer those concepts, which I've worked for years to try to understand, into my everyday moments. And that's really been life-changing.
And you're doing so amazingly.
Thank you.
We missed all the rest of our members today. You know, this summertime is just it's tricky, but I know they may be watching right now, and they may catch those replays later. This is like this dose of self-love medicine. You know, don't we just like want to bottle up when we're finally connected? I mean, how many of you out there feel super good when we finally take that time in for ourselves, you know, and time to celebrate, recognize that we show up differently today than we did yesterday? Like, don't we feel like really good?
And
Yeah.
and having fun,
Yes.
because everybody can relate to everybody. So when somebody is transitioning from one thing to another, and some of our members have already been there, or you, Trina, or I, we can laugh because we're right there with you. We know the victim mentality, as we talked about, but now we're able to laugh at it. It's so relieving.
Yeah. we have lots of fun. Yes. Well, this was just an amazing class today. Thank you so much for the takeaways, Trisha. And Louise and I, we just love we just love Time and Tuesdays. It is just like it's our
Me too.
own medicine. It just it can't get better than this, to be on this wave of just feeling good and celebrating what might be before kind of tough in life. And now we can turn it around to be like, this can be tough and we can have fun, and we can hold hands and we can hug at the same time and we can celebrate. Like it can all happen at the same time, right? It doesn't have to be
Right.
so heavy and hard, right? Isn't that the most fun part, Trisha, of really being able to celebrate? Did you ever think that you could celebrate stuff like this?
No, but I love it. Right. And it's noticing when you've made personal growth. I think a lot of times we don't notice that we're reacting differently or we're doing something different because it is so small, like you said. But those small moments really make an impact in how you perceive your everyday life. Yeah, so it's fun to celebrate. It's fun to tell people, hey, guess what I did? And it might, seem like a silly thing, but it's so important. And then maybe that triggers, a thought and you had that in your life or how you've grown. Yeah, it's fun to celebrate and acknowledge and keep learning.
Yeah.
And
To
you
always
get so
be transitioning. Yeah.
exactly, and you get so proud of yourself for doing it and taking the steps.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. And you allow yourself to be proud of yourself.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it reminds me of my own life. I mean, I didn't even think about it until now in terms of allowing yourself to celebrate, because I mean, how many times do we sit with a girlfriend or even in like a workshop or reading a book, and we're having all these like aha moments, right? And we're like, wow, this is really good. This is like good stuff. Or we may be talking to a friend about what doesn't really work in our lives, and
Yes.
we may be talking about things that could work, but in all of that is really that missing ingredients of the recognition of the small changes that happens from A to B, right? Because it's very quick for us to be talking to a friend and be like, yeah, and this still is not working, or yeah, I'm still kind of in this boat and I'm still struggling with this and blah, 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 blah. And I can certainly, I know you guys can relate to it, and I've been there in my life as well. So how do we get off of that train if we're so used to kind of identifying all the stuff that maybe we don't want, or we may celebrate a little bit and say, oh yeah, but I did do this, but we can't connect it all, right? It's not this flow of like, yeah, and I did this week, and I also transitioned this week, and I used the habit crusher this week. And I mean, all of this momentum, if we can identify all of that and celebrate that, what different impact that has that doesn't exist in our normal interactions, we're not allowing ourselves to even go there. That may also be a little like selfish, like, hey, can we just take a moment and celebrate me right now for making a decision on, I don't know, my bank statement, or, something silly. I mean, how many conversations do we have like that with our friends? I mean, I'm not sure I have a lot of those.
Right.
You guys
Not
follow me
enough.
here?
Yeah, not
Yeah.
enough. Right.
And sometimes when you're sitting and talking and you acknowledge that you have taken a big step and transition, it's just like, yes, and I'm so proud, but in this area, it's still not working. So we're just like downplaying the huge step we just took because we can't really own it.
Yeah. Or
I
people can't catch it in the moment.
Exactly.
They can't celebrate with you because now it triggers their own inadequacies.
Yeah.
And they just change the topic really quick. They don't, we just don't know. Like society, we just not taught how to really be in that space of just allowing ourselves to be transitioning well and celebrating that.
Mm-hmm.
Just taking that moment to just celebrate.
We're going to change that, Trina.
We are changing it. Right in the chat, celebration. What do you want to celebrate in this moment? Like, what ahas? Do you have any ahas right now? You know, from this. Let's just celebrate that. So you can integrate it and you can use it as momentum. Momentum. Yes. Anyway, thank you guys for listening. We'll be back with more takeaways and lives next week. Next time in Tuesday class. Yeah. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.